So I'd like to, we're going to record this session starting from this moment on. Everybody, welcome to Going Beyond the Post. And a friend of mine and expert in social media and relationship building, Mr. Ted Rubin. So
let's say a practitioner.
Practitioner. I like that. I like that. So Ted, everybody, for those of you that don't know Ted is a leading social media marketing strategist, keynote speaker, CMO advisor for Fortify. Ted, if I miss anything, let me know. But MC and host also for the Brand Innovators Summit. Pretty impressive. And obviously co-founder of Prevailing Path. What also is impressive is Ted is also a Forbes Top 50 social influencer and known for his return on relationship. So hashtag R on R. And welcome, Ted.
Happy to be here, Mark. I'm glad we finally got this straightened out. It's a demonstration of perseverance.
Absolutely.
So, I like to say it's all about attitude, perspective, and mindset. So, you go with the flow. So let's just figure it out and go from here and have a fun discussion.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad now everybody seems to be able to hear us. So we're going to get this thing going. So, it's interesting because when we're out there talking to clients all the time and we're interacting with just people, right? And the thing is, it seems like companies are still struggling trying to figure out this whole social media thing. What is it? How do we engage? How come we don't get any tangible benefits out of it or ROI out of it, right? And I've heard you speak so many times, Ted, and talk about you want ROI, you have to have ROI on end, return on relationship, and build from there and humanize this experience. And that's what I love about you and also, our next guest next week, Brian Kramer. But you guys really get this. So maybe you could talk to Alyssa a little bit about what is return on relationship and how does that directly impact social media and how can we embrace that in our own strategies?
Well, I think let's first just put a simple definition around return on relationship, just so people can have something to wrap their arms around. I like to say that it's simply put, it's the value that is accrued by a person or a brand due to nurturing relationship. I mean, ROI is simple dollars and cents. And ROI is the value, both perceived and real, that will accrue over time through connection, loyalty, recommendations, and sharing. And, we use this to define and educate companies and brands and people about the importance of creating authentic connection, interaction, and engagement. And, a lot of people like to say this stuff isn't measurable, but it really is. And a lot of it depends on how you set up your KPIs. How you look at what you're doing. And then, a lot of times I like to look at a brand and say that it's really upon them. Major brands especially. I mean, look, there's a difference between big brands and small business.
Right.
And they both have their advantages. Small businesses can see changes in their sales, in the attitude customers have towards them very quickly and easily, whereas that's harder for brands. But brands also have the resources to put behind measuring things that are important. What happens when my net promoter score changes? What happens when I have a bigger share of voice in a conversation? What happens, though, is they just don't put their time and effort into doing that. When I was at Collective Bias, the company that John Andrews founded and went in as a partner, one of the things that we really push brands to do, and I can't tell you they always did it, but the ones that was most successful did, was measure before, measure after. Understand how a change in conversation changes your sales, changes the amount of people that walk into your store. They all have this data available to them. But very often they put it on the people, whether it's the influencer themselves or the agency or a vendor selling them something, to figure it out for them, when most often we don't even have access to that data. Because Walmart certainly is not going to give you access into their in-store data. I mean, it's hard enough for a brand to get that. So it's very important for the brands, for you as a vendor, or for a brand as an acquirer or a user or buyer of these technologies or these services, to build an understanding for themselves. What happens when things change? And to measure that over time, and then do a measurement before and after. Some of these things can be very simple. Again, for a small brand, for a small business, a lot of this is feel. I mean, sometimes people say to me, how do you Ted, don't you use any back-end solutions? Don't you use any measurement software? I use none, personally. I do it all by feel. But I can do that because it's just about me. I can tell when I put up a post that people relate to, where the conversation changes, where both sides feel comfortable telling their opinions. And then I also look, there are times where I might very clearly say, I don't want opposing views. I'm posting this to rally like-minded people. I do that a lot more in the political sphere than I do in the branded side. But even on the branded side, it might be, I want to hear the people that like this and what they like. And then other times I want to hear both sides of the equation because I like to say that critics very often give you the best feedback. You know, JetBlue has a saying, if one person's complaining, 150 others probably have the same complaint at least. And if they respond to it, answer it publicly instead of trying to take it private, they're going to learn a lot, but also they're going to share the answer with so many people that they don't have to then give to one-on-one. I mean, a perfect example is I've been having this recently. I've become very anti-Yelp. I don't know if any of you guys have been following me, but
yes, I have.
I've had a bad experience, and mostly, you know, look, a lot of what I write about are things that I experience as a consumer. I very rarely go in to test a brand or to test a product. I don't serve that function myself. I don't serve it for brands. I operate as a consumer. And a lot of times, look, one of the things I say all the time when I speak is that marketers have to start thinking more like consumers. We think too much like marketers. Now, David Berkowitz took umbrage with that, saying that marketers are brilliant. And I'm like, I'm not saying don't use your marketer's mind to figure out how to sell or to build a relationship with a product. What I'm saying is, make sure that you're thinking like a consumer, because too often we know everything. We know what our product does. We know how it works. We know what to click on a website, but our consumers don't. And if you don't think of it as a consumer, here's one of my perfect examples. I don't know how many people listen here, but raise your hand. Obviously, I won't be able to see you, or just kind of think about it. Who here likes to be retargeted? I asked this question in front of audiences from 50 to 10,000, and I will tell you that not one hand goes up in the room. And then I'll say, and how many of you as brands retarget your customers? And every single hand goes up. Now, there is a total disconnect of marketer versus consumer. You hate the practice. I can even ask, and how many of you does it sometimes convince you to even never go back to that brand or that retailer? And a lot of hands go up, but then we do it anyway, because all we see are the positive results, which is the upsell, the increased cart value, the repeat purchase, but we don't see the people we're losing because of it.
Exactly.
So I you know, again, so what happened recently was I had a bad experience with Yelp, and I went to talk about it, and they just have no interest in engaging. All I get is, first of all, mostly they did not reply at all until days later, when they were tagged about 100 times, when they finally responded to a tweet and wanted to know why I was saying they didn't respond, and then telling me they couldn't find my post, which was basically impossible. I mean, they were tagged probably 50 times in the one post. How can they tell me they can't find it? But then when they did finally jump in, it wasn't engagement. It was a link to their policies about how they surface ads. Now, everybody you mentioned, I was on a stage recently, and now I'm making it my mission. And I've done this before. I've done this with FedEx when I had a bad experience socially with them. And again, it has to do with things that not just, oh, someone wasn't nice to me, or, oh, someone was having a bad day, or it's when total policies, or when I'll go out and mention to 4 or 5 people, and they'll all go, oh, forget about it. You know, Yelp posts are games. If you pay them as an advertiser, the bad reviews, you know, get hidden. If you don't pay them as an advertiser, the bad reviews get raised. And apparently there are thousands of businesses that have jumped into me privately, you know, because they don't want to get tagged out or targeted by Yelp, but saying, oh my God, we've been told flat out, if we don't advertise, you know, we're not going to have good reviews. It's just the way it is. It's what they're doing. So, you know, again, back to what we were talking about here, I just think that people have to understand, and as you pointed out, engagement is important. And look, it's like what you talk about, going beyond the post, that there's nothing wrong with using social as a broadcast medium, but just understand it's then going to get you the results of a broadcast medium.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I think
some of the places you can broadcast better than social.
Yeah, and Ted, I've heard you and read in some of your stuff even, and I've used it. Social media is your handshake moment, right? And so many companies and their brands waste that opportunity. So I think years ago, you know, posting for the sake of posting, it worked, but that was years ago. Social media is so complex. It's so science and art now, art and science around it. But if you break it all down, guess what? And that's what I love about wanted you on the show today was it's about us humans. When we're marketing, forget about being a marketer. Forget about being the brand. You're marketing to human beings that are going to consume content, consume your product, be loyal, advocate for you if you show them, let's just say it, love, attention, right? Give them the respect that they deserve as a customer, and they will want to be a part of your brand experience. Guide them through that experience, right? So it's going beyond the post of us, really. It's more than just social media. How do I generate leads? How do I generate tangible ROI? How do I tie that back into inbound email marketing where now I can personalize that experience and become more, intimate, if you will, with my client base, or get to call you my friend, right?
Well, a lot of this goes beyond, I'm actually, to use your terminology, going beyond the post. You say that social is the handshake moment. What I like to do is jump off a stage, shake somebody's hand, and say, are we friends now? No, we're not. It's actually going beyond the handshake, because a handshake is nothing more than an introduction. A handshake is an opportunity to build a relationship. It's not the relationship itself. When I shake your hand, I'm not your friend.
Right.
What you've done is you welcome me into your world and allow me to develop that friendship. So, I like to say, again, using what you're using, is it needs to go beyond. But, with what you're talking about a definition of what a lead is. So I don't know how many salespeople listen to your call or follow what you write about, but a lead, there are good leads, there are bad leads. I mean, anything is a lead. I can take out the phone book. Wow. By the way, I'm showing my age here. So when I first got out of college in 1980, I was making cold calls using a phone book until I sourced what were better leads. I was in the investment business. So there's all different qualities of leads. And when you build relationships, if you go to an event and there are 300 people there, and you get a list of the people that went to the event, let's say you're a sponsor. Right. And part of your sponsorship is you get all the email addresses of the people that are at the event, or you get all the names of them. That can be considered a lead, but it's a very weak lead, because what are you going to do? You're going to hit them with spam, basically, because they didn't opt in to hear from you. But if you walked up to each of those people and introduced yourself and didn't necessarily even talk about your business, but hey, I'm Mark, I'm from Chicago. I have a company. It's called Collective Hive. I like to skinny dip, and I'm just kind of I'm freeballing here.
You're telling
but and then look, I tell people, carry cards, share cards. When I collect a card, it doesn't go in a pile. I write a note on the back of it. I write to every single person I met with a personal note, and I save them. I don't just connect on LinkedIn by clicking a button. I send a note. Hey, it was great meeting you at the event in Chicago. I'm glad we had a chance to chat. Would love to connect with you here. Please feel free to be in touch with me anytime. And if you try to connect with me on LinkedIn without a personal note, and I don't absolutely recognize your name or know that we follow each other on the platform, 90% of the time I'm going to delete your request.
Absolutely.
And even if I do accept it, I'm going to write back a personal note. And look, I hear this from a lot of people. Well, nobody really reads those things. It only takes one.
Yeah.
Let's think about what most people are selling at these events. They're vendors. They're selling usually high-priced engagement products, SaaS models that sell thousands of seats, meaning that if they spend $10,000 or $20,000 going to a conference, or even less, $3,000, one customer makes the difference. And that one customer can be that one person who you made the impression on by following up with a valuable note that lets them think, number one, that you're paying attention to them, but also that you're the one guy, you're setting yourself apart. You're the guy that wrote that personal note. And I got to tell you, if your audience is, nobody pays attention to it, all in all, they're pretty much correct. If I answer 1,000 responses or reach out, maybe I'll get 10 that'll write back, or 20 that'll say, hey, thanks for the personal note. You're the first person to ever do that to me. But I'll tell you that 3 or 4 of those become valuable context, so I can call up and refer to somebody, sell something to, open a door for, get a favor from, because they remember that little effort. And it is a little effort. But when you combine it to a lot of outreach, it's a lot of work. But you know what? I had a mentor in my early days of selling that told me, you don't have to be as good a salesman as the next guy. You just have to work hard.
Yeah, I mean, how do you differentiate yourself in an already complex market, right? So I think all those little things like that, and I'm a stickler with that too. If somebody just tries to connect to me on LinkedIn, if I don't know them, come on, take the time to personalize it. Otherwise, is it just automated? Otherwise, you're just not giving a thought. You're just going down, click, 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 trying to connect. I guess I get that, but it's not the way to do it. So again, I think building upon that relationship, building that trust, earning confidence before I get to earn business is critical. And I think if people understand, and I've talked about this before, where I am social, I am media, or I'm human, I am media. And it's in trying to help people understand that human element is critical to really succeed in this. But think about, if you're in, there's a variety of different types of businesses I recognize here on this call with us today. And what are we doing? What are you each doing out there today that truly differentiates you? What makes you that uniquely different over the mass? I don't care if it's 5 competitors in your local market. Do something that's going to truly differentiate you. Your branding is critical. Be consistent with that, right, Ted? The way you communicate with your audience, know who your audience is, an intended audience. Anyways, I think that's part of it.
Let me jump in with what I believe is the key to all of this.
Sure, absolutely, please.
It's 3 words. It's actually 4 because I'm using it's 3 words. It takes time.
Oh my God! Thank you. Yes.
No. And this is, this is so critical because when you're building a personal brand, I like to say that a brand is what a business or a person does, but a reputation is what people remember and share. But your reputation doesn't spread in a day, in a week, in a month. It takes time. You need to start now, and it might not even pay off for you for a year, where people start saying, for instance, I'll do something and someone will have a disagreement with me online and they'll get upset, and they'll say something bad about me, and I don't even have to say a word. Within a few minutes, somebody gets in and goes, no, you're misunderstanding. That's not the way Ted was doing it, or that's not what he's about, or people will start thinking that. And what that does is it gets people thinking about what your brand is. I have a reputation, and this is a tough one, but I'm very responsive. So if you reach out to me, I reach back. And so what happens now is if someone reaches out to me, I don't get back to them, people will say to them, oh, he must not have gotten that message. You ought to try again, because he always gets back. Or someone will take a call from me and say, you know what, I wouldn't have taken a call from anybody else, but I know you are you're a stickler for this and you return everybody's calls, so I wanted to be returning your call. But these things take time, and I see this, a really easy way to see how people lose their patience, if you want to just observe it, is go onto social media and watch someone that starts using a hashtag for one reason or another. Either they're using one because it's very relevant to a topic, or they set up their own, like I have a whole bunch. Okay, right. R&R for return relationship, no let up, there's no let up in life. Be good to people, treating people well. WYC for what you can, when you can, mostly related to working out, but other things. And I see them and they try it for a month, and the next thing you know, they're on to the next one. And they're on to the next one. And their answer is, well, nobody caught on. It didn't catch on. Nobody cared about it. Nobody was really searching it or looking for it. That's because it could take years. I've been using R&R since 2009. And you'll very rarely see me ditch something I start using. I just add it to what I do. And I just recently wrote a post about what follow the path means. And I have a hashtag called follow the path. But in that post, I also talked about no let up. I talked about I talked on R&R, return on relationship. I talked about other things that have become parts of my brand and the way they build on each other and the way they take time. And by the way, I don't care. Some people make a joke. Oh, Ted's got another hashtag. Hey, guess what? They're talking about me. Or Ted Saki for my socks. I mean, I kind of got these ones on today.
Yeah, you and your crazy socks. Yeah.
And where did that hashtag come from? It came that people used to notice my socks. And then at one particular conference, people started posting them. And then I thought the conference would end and it would be over. And every day people asked me what socks I was wearing. It's now, my God, it's got to be 8 years later. And people say, when are you going to stop posting your socks? I go, when people stop caring. I mean, and it's not about the amount of likes you get or the amount of comments you get. It's about the amount of people around the country that every time they see you, they bring it up. The deliveries you get every week from people sending them to you. The CEOs in New York City, in major office buildings, that see me in the lobby and go, hey man, you're Ted Rubin, what socks are you wearing? And they pull up their leg to take a picture with me. I mean, there's little things like that, but this, again, didn't happen overnight. And this goes to whatever you're working on, whether it's being good to people, whether it's sharing something about your company. Branding doesn't happen overnight. No. Reach and frequency is not dead. We hear all these new things about marketing, but you have to remember the basic tenets of marketing still hold. Market to the consumer, not to yourself. Reach and frequency, the amount of people you can speak to. And luckily now we have the ability to speak one-to-one But like what I like to say is one to book one becomes one to many because people are sharing, and most people do what I call participate vicariously. They never comment, they never say a word, but they read everything you write.
Right.
And they are actually engaging by reading the conversations with other people.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Oh, Ted, you're a rock star all the way. Love it. Love it. The sock thing, I've been following that too. I love that. That's been amazing. You're absolutely right.
I just want to make one more point about that.
Yeah, yes,
Why
please.
that thing's important is because it just makes conversation easy. In other words, somebody sees you, and look, think of yourself. You walk into a room, you see someone that you think you recognize,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to say hello, but you don't just want to walk up and go, hi, are you Mark? And you go, yeah. And then they go, or let's say it's Gary Vaynerchuk or somebody else, and you think, oh my God, I got to say something smart. But you don't. People like Gary, like Brian Solis, they make it easy. Brian Solis should say, hey, let's get some champagne later, because everybody knows Brian drinks champagne. He posts it everywhere. Gary, you can probably say, what the fuck is up? I mean, like,
Yeah, exactly.
Make it easy. So for me, people just would walk in and say, what socks are you wearing? They just opened the door for them. It made it easy for them to speak to you and not feel like they had to say something brilliant or smart or know all about your family or something else that you might think they should know.
Yeah.
So think about the little things that enable you to have conversations. And for me, what gets me crazy is that brands have so many opportunities to personalize and make human their conversations. And what do? They cut and paste in the responses. They send you the links. They try to take you offline. They ask you to email somebody to have a conversation instead of doing it publicly. When doing it publicly, not only shares that information with everybody else, but it just shows that you care and you're human and that you're not afraid to have a public conversation.
Absolutely. Well, Ted, I know you have to go. I really appreciate you going beyond the post with us, sharing your advice, your experience and knowledge. Safe travels today, and thank you for your support today. This means a lot to me. Sorry for the technical glitch, and I know that you'll recognize this handsome mug over here too. So next week, Brian, like yourself, I wanted to hit it off with two heavy hitters, and you guys will be joining us next week with Brian Kramer.
Brian's the best there is, and I just urge your audience to come listen to him. He's warm, he's personable, he's got great advice, and he gets to enjoy very often with his young son what I'm about to enjoy with my buddy John Andrews, going to pick up his 12-year-old daughter at school and thinking about what we can do to embarrass her the most.
I love it. Yes. Well, all I can say is it's phenomenal. Thank you so much, Ted, and hope everybody enjoyed this. We'll work out the kinks, but you just got to go for it, and really appreciate everybody spending their afternoon with us for about 30 minutes. We're going beyond the post, and we're taking you with us. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. And don't forget, relationships are like muscle tissue. The more you engage them, the stronger and more valuable they become. No let up, baby.
No let up. TedRubin.com, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.